Hey, it's been a while, so I just want to briefly go over what I've been working on. So, the scope of the project has increased quite a bit. Originally, it was just going to be like a general FPS slash third person shooter animation system, or not necessarily a system, but it would just have a lot of helper nodes. But now I think that um, by creating a whole weapon system, that I would be able to do some more cool stuff. So that's what I've been doing. So the scope has increased. Um, so I've done mainly two things. I've added weapon attachments and some further weapon logic when it comes to animations. And I've also added a scripts system. So to go over the attachments first, as you can see here, um, I've got a foregrip here, and I've got a sight just kind of hanging in a really terrible place. Like no sane person would put their sights there, but that's besides the point. And you'll see these things, and these are basically just visualizers of where the sights, when you aim, your camera will actually end up. So, for the main weapon, there's a default sight, and if I can find the actual thing. Yeah, so you could set the aim offset here. So if I just set this to like 50, you'll see that this point will move. So now this is where I'm aiming, but I'm going to set it back to where it was originally. And you can also add more sights, and so this has similar logic to that, where you can move this around and the sight's position will move, and you could set the aim offset here, so 20. And another thing that I added was that every weapon now has an origin or a pivot point, and this is basically where all of your weapon sway and weapon offsets and recoil, where the origin will be. So at the moment, I've got another visualizer here. By the way, you can turn off all of these visualizers. Every single one of these is a bool to turn it on or off. And this is an editor only thing, so it shouldn't affect performance or anything. But anyways, this is the current pivot point. It's just at the 0th coordinate, but you can move this to wherever you want as well. Yeah, so I can just set this to up higher if I wanted, but I'm gonna set that back here for now. So now your weapon sway will actually originate wherever you want, and for here this is basically around where the hand is. Originally, the way that I had it is that the origin, essentially what the origin was always where the sights were, and so that didn't really look too bad, but the hands would move a lot and the sights would move very little, which wasn't super realistic, but it was hardly noticeable. But the main downside was whenever I switched sights, you would see that the origin would just teleport to the sights, and all of your offsets would just move a bunch, and your weapon would basically teleport a bit, and it didn't look good, and then the behavior of the weapon would be a lot different. Anyways, I'm just going to show what I've got a bit. So now you see that the hand attachment is at where the foregrip is, and when I aim, it still functions the same, but you'll see that all of the weapon sway is about the hand now, and less so the sights. The sights move a lot more now, but you can set that to be wherever you want. And if I press T, I got a script for this. Now I can switch sights, and it interpolates between the two sights, and it just aims there. And also weapon firing is a script in itself, and so I could switch between these. And it's all replicated as well. So that was briefly the attachments. And so for the sites, or not the sites, sorry, for the scripts here, kind of tired if you haven't noticed. I've basically created a script system, and these are instanced objects. And the benefit of having scripts instead of just writing all of your logic on the weapon itself is what you would have to do in order to do that is you basically need a complicated hierarchy or a lot of conditional statements. Basically having a semi-automatic weapon base class, burst fire base class, reloading. And if you wanted like a burst fire weapon, but you wanted it to have like infinite ammo and not having to reload or something, then you'd basically need to either just destroy your hierarchy and recreate it, or and to have that kind of thing work, or you would need to just ignore a bunch of logic on your weapon, and that's kind of wasteful. So here you can basically just create instance objects and just have them just be created in here like that. So um, some of them have less or smaller than others. Like this aiming script is barely anything. It's basically just interpolating between aiming and not aiming. This burst fire script is pretty big. And cycling sights just basically interpolation. So these are pretty small scripts. And you can have as many of these as you want as well. And so that's good and all, but the main issue with this originally was that UObjects, if you don't know, you pretty much can't have any RPCs or replicating variables on them natively by default, because that only occurs at the actor level. So what I basically had to do for all of these objects, since they are just UObjects, is I had to route the replication through the gun actor and into the objects, and that seemed to work. So yeah, and also you can create blueprint scripts as well. So I'm just gonna create one here really quick. If I just go into the BP reload script, this is completely made in blueprints, just inheriting from the weapon script base class, and I can just find like a reloading animation here. And let's actually just remove this foregrip just so you can see that this weapon system works without it as well. So now I'm just holding the weapon like the base implementation, and so I can just reload like this now. And I wasn't able to do that before just by pressing R. It also binds to input as well. And so the logic for the reloading is pretty small. I mean, it's really just reloading, but you can see that how versatile this is as well. And also to show off the origin, how you changing the pivot point affects the look of the weapon. So just briefly, I'm going to show this is how it looks like without it. Let me bring back the foregrip. I think that looks better. So this is how it looks with the origin being at the hand. And if I were to just move the origin a bit, um, so now the origin's much further up. Now you'll see the behavior is completely different. Now you can tell that it really is rotating around that point. And if I were to move it like to the right or something, like a maniac, now this is gonna look horrible. Yeah. Alright, I'm putting that back because that looks terrible. Alright, anyways, that's all I've got for now. So let me know what you guys think.